take it. No, wait, you want to challenge me? Calm down.
It's just a challenge.
Okay, he is part of the challenge. All of you want to challenge the food that I want to pay. Okay, now let him pay now, let him pay. You're making noise. I'm making noise.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. You've seen the video, you've seen the title. You know what this is about. In the knockout stages of the World Cup right now, it's Africa 1, Europe 1, and I'm sure you're wondering, why am I billing it this way? Why am I trying to start something? Of course not. I'm not trying to start anything, but obviously one of the points that I've tried to make throughout everybody since I began covering the World Cup is that the gap between African nations and Europe is not as much as people think it is. Netherlands were ranked higher than Morocco, but Morocco beat them on penalties after an exhilarating game of football. So Africa took the lead, and of course our second game today with Norway and Cote d'Ivoire ended in a Norway victory. But I want you all to think about this in this context, right? I'm putting it in of an Africa versus a Europe, right? In that sense, we still have Belgium, Senegal to come, right? Senegal, we are all really expecting you to do something for us, and of course Algeria and Switzerland, which isn't very easy to call. Of course, there's England and Congo, and I think that we shouldn't write off Congo at all. I'm not saying this just because I want Africa to win, but I heavily believe that England have struggled greatly with low blocks, with serious dirty low blocks in the past, and I have a very strong feeling that DR Congo are not going to make it any easier for England with the low block that they will definitely play, right? But let's get into the video. Right. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. I took notes from some of the games that I wanted to talk about. I think obviously let's start with yesterday, right? I think we can all acknowledge that even though Germany didn't play well, number one, and the German team isn't up to scratch with what it used to be, this is not where they should be exiting the tournament. And I'm wondering, like, genuinely, if you're a fan of Germany, who do you blame? Do you blame the FA? Do you blame the coach? Do you blame the players? I'm thinking about Nagelsmann is probably going to be gone by the time the round of 32 concludes, right? But I don't think this is as much on him as people are going to make it feel. I genuinely don't think that the German team is good enough. I think, especially with this game, I remember the Germany that I grew up with in 2014. Those people were wicked, right? You were leading the host nation 4-1 at their tournament, 4-0, I think it was 4-0, and their best player was out. Most teams would just, relax, they went on to add 3 more and let the game end 7-1, right? And then you go to the final against arguably the best player to ever play the sport, and you snatch his World Cup dream away from him in the last seconds of extra time. That's insanity, to be honest, how good those Germans used to be and where they are now, right? Think of people like Leroy Sané starting a game in 2026. He's not that guy anymore. But Germany don't have anybody who is better. I was very disappointed, to be honest, in the German team. But again, if you're pointing fingers, I don't know where you start pointing from, because I think they all let themselves down and they're all to blame. And when there's a situation that everybody is to blame, you can't really point fingers, in my opinion. I think that they just started the game too slowly and they didn't deserve it. Paraguay, on the other hand, fought, and they did really well. I'll commend them for that, because even though they allowed Germany back into the game by not letting certain balls that were going out for goal kicks go out for goal kicks, they hit the ball back into play right where a German player was. They consistently fought back, and they fought and took it all the way to extra time and then penalties. And Oscar Hill, great goalkeeping throughout the game, came for all of his crosses, what have you. And if you're here to hear my opinion on whether I think it's a foul or not, let's be honest, right? This season, Arsenal have perfected the art of evil corners, right? Whatever that is. But they managed to perfect it. They managed to find a loophole in the system. They exploited it, and now FIFA seems to have been taking the right measures to make sure that people don't exploit it again. The goalkeeper was impeded. It's a soft foul, because he doesn't impede him that much to the extent that he falls down. But the problem is that he makes a deliberate action towards the goalkeeper and prevents the goalkeeper from moving towards the ball. If it's a regular person on the pitch, they wouldn't give that as a foul, but obviously it's a goalkeeper. And goalkeepers are the most protected species in this sport, as we all know. So that's that. I don't think we should talk about the Germany game any longer. I don't think that they offered us anything really substantial to be talking about. right? Congratulations to Canada as well on getting to the round of 16, right? They also did pretty well, blah blah blah. Yeah, but let's go on to the real game that we all love. This Morocco Netherlands game. So if you watch the game, you would realize that there was a lot. It was very physical and it was very fast paced, right? And what I have to say is that I think both Morocco and Netherlands have strong ties in terms of the people who are living in Netherlands. A lot of them are of Moroccan descent, and even this Moroccan national team has quite a few players that were born in Holland who opted to represent Morocco. Van der Vaart had some words to say about the quality of players he felt played for Morocco. Well, they've knocked the Netherlands out now, and they deserved it. They really deserved it. But one thing that I really enjoyed from this game, apart from the fact that I was two teams slugging it out with quality players absolutely fighting and showing their quality throughout all the phases of play, I didn't just like it because an African team won. I liked it because both coaches showed invention. Sometimes, right, you think about coaches and how we like to not point the finger at the coaches, right? But this game showed me very much that you are absolutely right to point fingers at the coaches a lot of the time, because who would have looked at this game and seen how Brian Brobe was being outmuscled and outfought in every single area, either by Chadi Riyad or Issa Diop, and thought, oh, you know what, let me bring a slower, less clinical striker on to make the difference. And that's what got Netherlands the first goal. Almost immediately, Valsvegost came in, right? Flick on, Somerville running behind, and a brilliant, what was the term? I can't remember the term, but it's brilliant presence of mind from Somerville to realize that Cody Gakpo was coming, and just to touch the ball for him to smash that ball home, right? And condolences to him. He and his partner recently lost their unborn child, right? It's obviously very painful to lose anybody in your life, regardless of whether that's in the womb or outside of it, right? So I'm happy he got his goal, but it was very unfortunate for him in the end that Morocco would end up winning. Towards the end of the game, it was really looking like Morocco were going to have no answers, and I was sitting with my dad watching this game at 3 a.m. knowing that he had work tomorrow, and we were both thinking, genuinely, like, what can these Moroccan guys do? And this coach, Mohamed Wabi, who had a lot of question marks over him. I personally had a lot of question marks over him. He was their under 20 and under 23 coach, I believe, before he got into the job at Morocco, but of the Morocco head national team, right? But what I saw from today wasn't a coach who had been promoted. He kind of reminded me of Maresca today. I think that this was the game that really showed everybody who had any doubts about him that he belongs here, that he belongs in the first team stage. And I say this because obviously I support Manchester United, and we remember the very, very dark periods under Ruben Amorim, right? And one of the criticisms that he always got was that we could be losing and then he'll bring on another centre back. We could be losing and he'll bring on a DM, right? He wouldn't change the shape, nothing at all. He's the same 3-4-2-1, and we'll lose or we'll draw to a team that we shouldn't be losing or drawing to. But Mohamed Wabi took off all his star players. He took off Buhadi, he took off Unahi, who had been brilliant, who had been finding space in behind. He took off Brahim Diaz. He took off everybody. Like, legitimately, he took off everybody, put in players he trusted, made Mazraoui go to centre back, asked Issa Diop to go forward, asked them to put balls in the box. And Van Dijk had a slight moment of hesitation before deciding whether to jump or not. Didn't jump, and it allowed Issa Diop a free header, and he smashed that ball into the back of the net for Morocco. And both keepers also, hats off to them. Hats off to Bart Verbruggen and Yassine Bono, because not even only for the penalty shootout, but in game, especially Bart, right? He was fantastic. I think about some of the shot that he saved in the 96 minutes. I can't remember the guy's name. Yassine, I can't remember. But he worked a brilliant opening for himself, and Bart Verbruggen came up big to block that shot and ensure that the game would continue on. Yeah, so he obviously did. Bart Verbruggen did make sure that they were going to be able to go to the next round, but obviously there's so much more in this tournament for Morocco. I'm looking at the brackets right now, right, and they obviously have Canada in the next round, and I think what's going to be huge for them, that game is going to be massive, because beating Canada, they might become, I think, depending on when that game is played, they might become the first team to knock out a host nation, and that could do them some good, add to their aura. And after they do that, right, they'll be meeting either Paraguay or most likely France. Sorry, France and Sweden have not played yet, but I'm so certain that France will win that game. I just Sweden have been very poor throughout this tournament, even though they absolutely hammered Tunisia and they didn't do too bad against Japan. The way they got torn apart by the Dutch, it makes me a Dutch team that doesn't have as much quality going forward as France do makes me very concerned. And Graham Potter is not very pragmatic. He's not going to sit and wait for something to happen. He's going to like to play on the front foot, and I wonder if that will do him some bad. But I'm watching this bracket the way it's unfolding, and it's obviously looking like a Morocco France quarter final. That's a rematch of the semi-final from 4 years ago, and I think Morocco are well pleased currently to go toe to toe with France. Not toe to toe as in like go and press them man for man, but I think that all the players that they've shown that they have right throughout this tournament, that if they want to show that they are at a higher level, like we have all been screaming for African countries to do, right? Cote d'Ivoire were so good today, we'll get to them in a minute, but we want to show us that you are at that higher level, that you are an exceptional player, that you belong on the big stage, on the world stage, right? Then I think that this is the time for the Moroccan players on 9th July 2026 to show everybody that this is who they are. Of course, I'm making some massive assumptions that France are going to beat Sweden in a few hours, and Paraguay are going to beat and France are going to beat Paraguay, Morocco are going to beat Canada, blah 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 blah. But look, guys, if that is, and I really hope that that's the final, because that would be exhibition football for us to watch and to just generally experience. And we need that in my opinion, and I need Morocco to show us who they are in that game. So last thing that I want to talk about is the Ivory Coast Norway game that just finished, and I want to say I saw it coming. I predicted Norway to win by 2 goals. Actually, I thought it would be an exciting game that would end 4-2, and I think Cote d'Ivoire can look back at this game and be proud of themselves, but be also massively disappointed in themselves. Why am I saying these two contrasting things? They were better than Norway. We shouldn't lie to ourselves. We shouldn't try to, because we have our favorites, we shouldn't try to. They were better. They were better from minute 1 to, I'm tempted to say minute 90, but there were pockets where Norway were very good, right? And they were very good because of Martin Odegaard. They were very, very good because of Martin Odegaard in this game. I think he needs to be given his flowers, and I think he needs to leave Arsenal, because I think if this is the guy he's capable of being, mind you, Norway don't play a necessarily expansive setup, right? They are not too pragmatic either. And so for giving all that information, and he was playing the way he has been playing throughout this tournament, but he can't replicate this for us now, tells me everything I need to know. And I do feel as though maybe moving on from Arsenal would be in his best interest. But I guess that's not really for us to see. But back to Ivory Coast, I really feel like the decision not to start Ahmad was very puzzling. I don't know. I haven't been following them too closely, so maybe you guys can tell me in the comments if he had an injury, or he had if there was something between him and the coach that resulted in him not starting. But it's the World Cup, and it's I think it's 8 games, right? Round of 32, round of 16, quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals, 3 group games. It's 8 games, and these 3 games are, as Carlos Queiroz said, right? It's basically a warm-up, right? You have to get through it, but it's basically a warm-up. So you have 5 cup finals between you and a trophy, right? And it's very different, right? The way momentum and everything, right? But you should know, especially for an African country, right? That need to gain yourself some traction. This World Cup is very important for a multitude of reasons for us African countries, us countries in the Caribbean, all these islands, Haiti and the rest, because you need to show the world that you are there, right? You never know, some random Kofi Mensah or Stephen Mbuzu, or I don't know any other Haitian or Jamaican names, right? But you don't know anybody from anywhere on this continent or on your country. Might have gone to some Canada, might have gone to some Czech Republic. We saw recently Zion Suzuki's dad was Ghanaian, right? You need to show these people that if they do ever give birth to a child who has a dual nationality, or possibly even 3 nationalities, right? You have to show them that footballing wise, your country is probably where they need to be. You think about Nigeria, where they could have been if Saka decided to represent them, Jamal Musiala decided to represent them. They had the option of Ulisi. Mbappe could have played for Cameroon, right? These are all massive players that we've missed out on over the last few years because of things like this. And we need to show each other that the gap between us and Europe isn't that big. And this game, I don't think it will mean too much in the grand scheme of things because Ivory Coast did really well to fight and play their heart out. You saw the moment Amad Diallo came on, something different happened, and he was able to get the equalizer from a brilliant piece of play. He shouldn't leave all his powers in America when he's coming back to the UK. Amad, please, we need you at your best for next season. You think about that. You think about that free kick that he had towards the end. It's just there are things that special players do for you like that you have to ensure that they are starting. It's when they are fit. Ancelotti chose not to play Neymar in this game. I feel like that was almost precautionary because he didn't need to, and there was no point where it was okay to just give Neymar minutes, right? Because they were losing, and then you're thinking, okay, bring Neymar on to kind of ginger you guys. Then you get the equalizer, and you're thinking, okay, bring Neymar on so that you get the winner, right? And he obviously opts for Martinelli instead, which ended up being a great change. But he opts for Martinelli, and I are thinking, oh, bring Neymar on so that we get the winner. Right, and they get the winner so late that you can't bring Neymar on just to like run around and stretch his legs to make sure that he's still warm. It doesn't work that way, right? And so I think now, moving forward, what I'd like to leave you guys with is that even though Ivory Coast did really well today, they should feel both proud and disappointed, but not let this end here. They have to continue to develop their players. They have to make sure that they are continuing to get their players into the right spaces. Yan Diomande going to PSG might be a godsend for them because now that puts them on this extra level, right? The way people used to see Drogba, extra level. The way used to see Essien, extra level, right? You need to be a step higher, in my opinion, to get that traction that these countries need to be able to broadcast themselves out there that, hey, we are here for you too. We are not ready to continue being in the shadows. I think this Morocco team is too young and too inexperienced to win this World Cup. But I definitely think that it can beat anybody in this tournament. And I think that they are definitely one to watch, right? And like I said before, I think Senegal also have the most luxurious opportunity in the world to be in the quarterfinals at the end of the day. And this might sound offensive again because I'm making a lot of assumptions, but if you really look at it, after they play Belgium, which is a very beatable game for them, they'll play the winner of the US and Bosnia. They should be favorites in those games. I think they did play the US in a warm-up game and they lost, but you shouldn't. This is different. This is your game. You guys have to go and grab that game by the scruff of the neck, Senegal, and make sure you beat them. And then, of course, that will set up a much harder quarterfinal between probably Spain or Portugal or Croatia, whoever goes through. Switzerland and Algeria as well. Tough game. Really tough game. But again, Algeria, that's something that you can handle. So, I don't know. England and DR Congo, I've said what I did say on that. But, guys, we need to lock in as a continent. Ghana as well, we have Colombia. That's not really us versus Europe, but we need to get as many African countries into the subsequent rounds as possible. If we beat Colombia, which obviously is a big if, but if we are able to beat Colombia, I do fancy our chances against either Switzerland or Algeria. And yeah, and then we can see where we go from there. Yeah, but that's basically that. If you've enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe for more football passports, and I'll bring you more content to get you up to date on more topics and things like that. I love you all. Stay blessed. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Peace.